During our Christmas vacation from 3rd grade, Eddie Molden and I decided to build a toboggan run up on the mountain behind the shack of Rancid Crabtree, the crotchety old woodsman. The design of our run was based on one we had seen in the newsreel at the theater the Saturday before. Only our track was much steeper and faster than the one in the newsreel. We completed the track on Friday and decided to make our first test run the next day. A Good Deed Goes Wrong by Patrick McManus. Early Saturday morning, Eddie and I were dragging our sled past the shack of Rancid Crabtree on our way up to test the toboggan run. "Listen, Eddie, it's my sled."
"Yeah, that's right. That's why you should be the first one to get to test it."
"No, I should get to choose who tests it first, and I choose you." About that time, Rancid stuck his head out of the door of his shack.
"What are you two kids up to now? Some kind of monkey business, no doubt. I ain't seen no youngins that could get in more trouble than the two of you."
"We built a toboggan run up on the mountain behind your shack, Rancid, and it's fast, too. It's just like the one in the newsreel."
Hold up for a sec. I better go check this out. You fool half-pints have probably invented some new way to kill yourselves.
Half an hour later, we stood at the start of our toboggan run. "It looked more impressive yesterday, Rancid."
You call this a toboggan run? I can't believe I climbed all the way up here to this piddling little trail in the snow. I must have been out of my mind. Well, give me the sled. Least you can do is let me ride to the bottom of the mountain on it.
It might be dangerous, Mr. Crabtree."
Dangerous? Eddie, I suspect I never told you this, but I used to be a professional bobsledder. Yeah, Racing Rancid, they used to call me.
Gee, I didn't know that. I figured he probably must have been a professional bobsledder right after being a game hunter in Africa, or about the time he was a fighter pilot in India, or about the time he won the figure skating singles at the Olympics.
Yep, now, give me the sled. All right, give me a push-off.
We watched as he slowly glided down our toboggan run, hitting the first curve and going slowly downhill, picking up a little bit of speed as he went. He called back to us as he went,
"I hate to tell you boys this, but your bobsled track ain't enough to give a feller a decent ride."
I'm sort of disappointed at what he thinks about our bobsled track, considering he was a professional bobsledder and all.
"Yeah, me too, but his opinion might change when he hits the skid trail section right about now."
Oh, my gillywaggers. That is how Rancid Crabtree broke his leg. Now, the only eyewitness other than Rancid was old Mrs. Swisher. Now, I forgot to mention that our toboggan run coincided with Sandy Creek Road, a road that was seldom traveled in the winter, and even then by old Mrs. Swisher, who drove to church on it each Sunday. Mrs. Swisher was a little daft anyway, and nobody really paid attention to her report that she gave later. "Well, I was driving to town to go to church, minding my own business. Well, I was especially nervous about going by that dreadful Rancid Crabtree house because, well, he is in cahoots with the devil. Well, I'm driving to church, minding my own business, when all of a sudden that fool Rancid Crabtree zooms right out in front of me, going about a foot in the air, I tell you, going like the wind. He was going so fast, I only got a glimpse of his face. I am sorry I did. The thought of it has kept me awake at night ever since. He had such a hideous expression on it. Well, you cannot even imagine. Well, anyway, he went off down Sand Creek Road, and I thought he might be laying ambush for me up ahead. So I turned right around and went home. And well, it was a good thing I did too, because just then I remembered it was Saturday instead of Sunday. Naturally, nobody took old Mrs. Swisher's account seriously. A couple of Saturdays later, Eddie and I were walking along the highway when we saw a furry shape lying in the road ahead. "Look, it's a bobcat. It must have just been killed. It's still warm."
I know what we can do. We can give it to Rancid, and he can skin it and sell the hide, and then he won't be mad at us anymore."
that is what we did. We loaded the bobcat onto my sled and headed off to Rancid Crabtree's house. When we got there, we peeked open and looked inside the door. There was Rancid lying on his cot, his casted foot stuck up on a block of firewood out from underneath the covers.
You think we should wake him? No, he's probably wore out, dragging that cast around. We'll just put the bobcat and put it on that nightstand right there by his bed, and he'll see it when he wakes up. It'll be a good surprise for him.
Eddie was very good at thinking up good surprises for people. That's what we did. We put the bobcat on that table, and then Eddie stuck 2 kitchen matches up between the big cat's lips in a pretty fair imitation of a snarl. Then he took the matchbox and put it underneath the big cat's chin, so it looked as if he was holding his head up, ready to pounce. Then we snuck outside and awaited the old woodsman's awakening. I think he's going to be real surprised.
Yeah, me too.
Presently, the old man awakened, and he must have banged the table with his elbow because we heard the sound of matchbox hitting the floor.
Darn, the surprise is ruined now.
Just then, we heard some awful yelling and screaming.
What? Get away from me!
A chair was flung against the floor. A table was crashed against the wall. A block of firewood sailed out of the window. All of this was accompanied by the wildest screaming and yelling we had ever heard. Wow, I didn't think he'd be this surprised.
Yeah, me neither. Maybe we should go away and come back and tell him about our present later when he isn't so surprised.
Presently, we heard a furious rattling of crutches as Rancid burst out of the door of his shack, went across his lawn, went into the outhouse, and slammed the door shut behind him. Just then, the bobcat sauntered out of the shack, chewing on a matchstick. He gave us a contemptuous glance and headed up the mountain, shaking his head as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. Truth be told, we couldn't either. You ever seen Rancid Crabtree move that fast before? Nope, especially not on crutches. He wasn't even using his legs. He had those crutches whippering around like spokes on a wheel. You ever think he was an acrobat in the circus? Probably, right after he was a spy in Russia.